What's up, guys? Welcome back to Moving Against the Flow. Today's video is going to be about boldness. Now in the Bible, God tells us that if we're bold, we will be rewarded. And there's many examples of being bold in the Bible. Now the first story I'm going to tell you about is David and Goliath. I'm sure a lot of you already know this story, but basically it was the battle between the Philistines and the Israelites. Now the Philistines, don't make fun of me, I don't really know which one's right. But they had this champion named Goliath. And this guy was huge. Like, he was big. And he was all covered in armor. And it really wasn't someone you wanted to fight if you were on the battlefield. So to give you some perspective of what Goliath looked like, this dude was about 9'9", had on 125 pounds of armor, and he had a spear that weighed 15 pounds. So he wasn't no easy opponent if you had to go against him, without the Lord anyway. So Goliath basically wanted to fight one-on-one. He shouted out to the Israelites to give one of their warriors to fight against him. And if Goliath defeated one of the Israelites guys, the Israelites would become servants to the Philistines. And if the Israelites defeated Goliath, the Philistines would become servants to the Israelites. Now, if you can imagine, I'm sure you can, seeing a 9'9" dude with all this armor on, with this huge spear. Like, a lot of people probably wouldn't want to fight him. But, as you may know, the Lord isn't scared of anything. So, here's where the story takes a twist. Now, here's where David comes into the story. David was the son to a man named Jesse, who had 8 sons. And the 3 oldest sons had went to war with Saul, with the Israelites. So, David was basically taking care of his father's sheep. He wasn't no warrior. But one day his father asked him to take supplies to his brothers at war. He told him to take food to him. Now David got there and took all the supplies there, and he asked his brothers how they were doing because the father wanted to know. But while he was there, he heard Goliath disrespecting all the Israelites. And he asked what would happen to the man who killed this guy, because he's disrespecting Israelites who are followers of Christ. Now I know I said David wasn't no warrior, as in he hasn't been to battle, but that didn't mean that he wasn't a warrior in a different sense. Basically, after he learned about what was going on, he went up to Saul and he said that he would go and fight this Goliath guy. In 1 Samuel 17, 33 through 37, Saul basically replies to him because David wants to go and fight Goliath. It says, Saul replied, "You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." But David said to Saul, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it and struck it and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God, the Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you." So basically what he's saying is that if the Lord saved him from this bear or lion, he'll surely save him from this Philistine. So this is totally bravery right here. Totally bravery. This small dude going up against this behemoth guy that just would be unimaginable nowadays. But he had the Lord with him, and he had boldness to be brave for the Lord, because he knew that with the Lord nothing bad could happen to him. So David's getting ready for battle, putting all this armor on, but he takes it off because he's not used to wearing it. All he takes with him is 5 smooth stones and a sling. But when Goliath saw David, he started making fun of him because he was pretty much like a young boy, and he was just saying that he'd feed his flesh to the birds, and like basically he was cursing at him and just disrespecting him. And in 1 Samuel 17, 45, it says, David came to the Philistine. David said to the Philistine, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." So David ain't scared of Goliath. He's basically telling him that you made a big mistake coming against the Lord, and you're about to pay for that. So basically they both started moving into attack positions. David took out one stone, slung it around in a sling, hit Goliath in the forehead, and he was dead, out cold. Now, this story says a lot about being bold for the Lord. I mean, basically, if it was anyone else and the Lord wasn't with them, I don't think they would have done it. I don't think they would have triumphed. But the Lord was with David, a small boy who, without the Lord's help, wouldn't have been able to do that. But he trusted in the Lord, and he didn't doubt the Lord for a minute. He knew what the Lord could do, and he has done so many things for him in the past that he knew that he wouldn't let this Philistine kill him. And with a rock and a sling, he defeated this giant 9'9" dude. And that's just an amazing story about being bold for the Lord and being rewarded. Another example of boldness would be Moses going up to the Pharaoh and telling him to release God's people. And after many times of Pharaoh saying no to him, Moses kept going back and saying, "If you don't, that the Lord will bring plagues against you." And that's a very bold thing, going up to a Pharaoh and telling him what to do. But he had the Lord behind him, and he knew that with the Lord, he couldn't fail. So it took a lot of boldness for him to keep doing that. And eventually they were free, and they crossed the Red Sea. I mean, and this is another boldness. A sea parted, like, that could be pretty scary, but they knew that the Lord was with them and that he would get them through, and he did. And when the Egyptians were chasing him, the sea collapsed and it took them away. But that's just another boldness. They walked across the sea and they defied Pharaoh because the Lord was behind them, and they're just listening to what the Lord told them to do, being bold, and were rewarded for it. Now the last and final example I'm going to give is the best example we could ever have. It's when Jesus came to the earth and did all the things that he did for us. He never succumbed to sin once. You know, he always did what was right, and he never failed us. He did exactly what he was supposed to do here. And it takes, I don't even know, like, you can't even explain how bold that how much boldness it took to do that. And he's the best example that we could have, because he came and he overcame the world, and all because he knew that he was doing what God put him here for. And you know, it's just a great example to look at, that our own Lord and Savior would come down and give us an example of how to live. It just took tremendous courage and just tremendous love from him. So to wrap it up, being bold for the Lord is just an amazing thing, because when he tells us to do something, he doesn't leave us to do it ourselves. He's always there with us every step of the way. You just gotta have courage and to follow what he's putting in your heart. I know that whenever I came to school, I had no idea what I was gonna do. You know, so I prayed, and then I felt like the Lord was telling me that, you know, I want you to make videos. And if you know me, I am not the most outgoing person. Like, when you first meet me, I'm like the shyest person you can be. So following this path of wanting to make films for the Lord, like Christian films and documentaries, it took a lot of bravery, because, like I said, I'm not the most outgoing person. But you know, the Lord uses even the weakest people to do the most amazing things. You know, and when we finally trust in him, we can see all the great things that come of it. You just gotta trust him. You know, many of us know what he wants us to do, but a lot of us aren't taking that leap of faith. And when you do that, I can't even tell you how much joy will overcome you. But like I said, just trust in the Lord and be bold for him, and you'll see great things happen. That's gonna wrap it up. I'll see y'all next weekend with maybe 2 videos. I don't know, but I'll see y'all next weekend. Peace.